I'm Megan.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Erica.
And this is the Her Podcast.
So today we're sitting down with the lovely Jen Draper. Jen is an event planner, mother of 3, and founder of the Little Wonders Family Program. You probably recognize that name because you've heard it in our ads before and in different conversations we've had. The Little Wonders Family Program is a nonprofit organization that's primary focus is helping families who have small children facing medical battles. Let's just pause for that because that's absolutely incredible. We've had the opportunity to get to know Jen and hang out with her, and she's honestly such a sweet, kind, and genuine person. She's putting on some really great events in our city, like the Heart's Desire Gala. We've also talked about that before. It's going to be a really great evening if you can be a part of it. We talk through today her own traumatic experience as a child and why that led her to loving families in these situations, what it's like stepping onto the scene and throwing together massive events, and also how much her community has rallied around her and why she finds it so freaking important to do that. Let's get into it with Jen. Have you done a podcast before?
No.
So you've never heard yourself on the mic?
No, I refuse to actually believe that this is how my voice sounds.
What do you
Gosh, I love my voice.
I know.
We like our mic voices.
I was actually kind of hoping I'd be like a little stuffed up, so I'd be like, hello.
Like
a
Phoebe?
little sultry.
Yeah. Hello, my baby.
I prefer
You'll see
the way
we're
I
quite close.
sound.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, again, we've done it, so we're like used to it.
We also like listening to ourselves talk.
Yeah. I kind of feel like I'm getting ready for a Grammy performance.
Why else do you start a podcast if you don't like listening to yourself talk, though?
That's fair.
Were you getting yourself hyped up on the way here? Like, did you have a
I was
playlist?
just very fired up about the train.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because I'm like, I know you have like playlists that you like listen to, and you're like, the other day I went and watched your stories, and I'm not sure if I'm going to give the context right, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. But it seemed like you were like, I have some emotion I need to deal with, and you're like, I'm going to hit the open road.
Yep.
With this playlist that I need to crush out, and I'm going to drive as far as I need to drive.
Yep.
Until I am feeling a different way.
Yeah.
And then I will turn around and I will come home.
It's like my favorite thing to do.
Is that like therapy for you?
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you scream out the songs? Do you have a good cry? Is it a little bit of both? What's your like...
It depends. Like, I have some songs where it's like you need a full car concert, where there's like you are the lead, the backup, like there's no duets. Other times I just like listen and zone out.
I really want to be able to like drive beside you or like have an in-car cam, you know, because I'm like to
In-car
just
cam's
catch
probably
you,
safer.
you know, like in your moment doing your thing.
Yep. I've been
I'm
busted
like-
doing a few car concerts.
I actually, every time I'm singing... Okay, question. When you are singing in the car, because we all do it, and like you hit a red light and you know there's cars beside you, do you stop singing? Or do you just keep going?
I don't anymore.
There you go.
Like if I am
just-
feeling it, I just keep going.
I love it when I look over and someone's having a great time. I'm like, what song you listen to?
Doesn't it like bring everyone up around you though? Right?
It
Like if you're
depends who
feeling
I've stopped
positive,
beside. Like I've been Judge Judy'd a few times at the red light, but that's fine.
you're like, great. Well, you live your cranky old life over there, crusty.
Like the girl who flipped you off today.
Today, we were driving into the city, and I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Like literally.
She like drove up beside us, and it was like the full bird, the full like raging out the window, and I was just like, "I'm sorry, what happened this morning?" Like, and I it was funny because I was like, I should pull up beside her and like blow her a kiss because this is the kind of person I am.
That's what I do.
This is what I do. I would go and be like, "Hello," but then I was like, I'm just gonna chill because like International Women's Day and like she's a woman, so whatever. But I literally we like paused because we were right behind her, and I was like, she probably feels so dumb. And then I was like, I turned to CJ and I was like, I bet that ruins her whole day. I bet my driving ruins her whole day, and that's too bad, right? Because we've been talking about like,
Well, not letting 5 minutes of your day
dictate the whole
ruin
day.
your whole
Yeah.
day, because how often do we do that? So
yeah.
the train gone.
Yep.
It no longer exists. 5 minutes is over. You're about to step into the next hour
Perfect.
of amazing.
But I'm actually glad someone else blows kisses because that's just like my instant defense mechanism if someone's awful in the car. Like when I get busted doing car concerts, I'm like,
Yeah, I'm just like, people like
my
stare at you
autograph?
and they're all mad, and I'm like, really? What did I do? First of all, it's probably an accident, right? So there's no grace in the world left, apparently. And then also, I'm like, you're probably overreacting. Like, I'm not a bad driver, so maybe I went too slow for you. Which is like, well, that's perception. So, okay. No, it's funny. I literally was like laughing, and then we kept pulling up. Like, and then of course you're like kept pulling up beside her.
So awkward.
And she just like, I'm like, she knows we're right beside, and she just like wouldn't look. And I was like, well, okay. Bless you. Bless you.
And we have like some fun things we want to talk to you about today, but I'm like, let's just like get, slowly in there. I'm like, I have some heavy hitters for you, some good ones.
Boy.
No, like good ones and a good no. But I'm like, the gala, like everyone is buzzing about the gala right now. And I'm like, let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Like, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I am perfectly dissociated.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
I totally, like I've talked on my stories before, I very much battle with imposter syndrome. So it was like leading up to it, I had a feeling what was going to happen, but like that little voice, I was like, but what if it doesn't? And I'm like, but then I try and write things down. Like I try and actually like map it out. Like, okay, if this happens, then what? But if it doesn't, then what?
Yeah,
and then it kind of helps me feel a little better. Yeah. And then when it sold out, I was just like, okay.
But yeah, we knew it was going to sell out. But are you still being like, what if?
Not as much.
Okay.
But like the first few days, it did not feel real.
Yeah.
It was just like head down, answering emails, work mode. I want to pay these invoices. I want to do this. And then now I'm kind of starting to like take it in. Once the seating plan was done, then I calmed down.
Yes.
That was like one of the first things. You were like, I need to crush this out.
Yeah.
Are you like, I don't know what the appropriate word is, like what you guys would, like an organizer and like a task, like orientated. And so you're like, I need to like crush out some of these like physical, sort of like task things.
And then I was all worried that I was like, okay, it's sold out, but what if I sold too many tickets? Or like I oversold. So then seeing the seating plan, I'm like, oh, I actually have like 10 extras that I can use to like donate to charity silent auctions and things like that. So I felt way better.
Because you could see everything in front of you. Yeah. And for listeners who may not know what we're talking about, it's the Heart's Desire Gala 2.0, because you had the first one last year. Not even, I guess last year, but was it in the spring?
October.
So, okay. Holy smokes.
I'm literally interrupting, so I'm really sorry.
That's fine.
The first one was 150 people?
It was somewhere between 150 and 200, because I know some people didn't come because they were sick. But yeah, it was definitely under 200.
And then this one is how many?
800.
What?
Yeah.
Jen, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sorry for yelling.
Yeah.
Big upgrade.
Okay. That's
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the first one, you were like, let's go bigger. But did you think you were going to go 800?
Yeah. Like, I'm really curious on like how you were like, okay.
I just asked TC, who I'm like, can you just do me a floor plan? If I happen to sell the entire upper level, how many tickets is that? And so then I just released them, and I was like, well, if it doesn't, then we can just kind of like section off the room and do it smaller. And then all of a sudden they were gone, and I was like,
okay, we did the whole thing. Wow. Well, and I'd love to like circle back. So now obviously we've talked about the gala, but I had the pleasure of hearing you speak at the last Heart's Desire Gala and opening up a little bit about your upbringing and your childhood. And I know that was the first possibly time you had done that in a public manner, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it was really powerful and impactful to hear your sort of why and story and where it's brought you to where you are today. So I'd love to circle back, all the way back to the beginning and build from there, so that people have an understanding of why you've created this amazing program. So I don't know if you can share a little bit of your story and your journey and your upbringing and your childhood, similar to what you shared at the Heart's Desire Gala.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually didn't really realize my why until probably the week before the gala. And I didn't know until I got on stage if I was going to say anything or not. I was like, I'm just going to start talking and we'll just see what happens. And yeah, so I'm really glad that I did it. And I'm more so glad that like I figured it out, like that why. But for the family program, like I had my event planning company, 4 kids and families, and I wanted to do something to give back, but I just didn't know what that looked like. I kept having ideas, but I was like, oh, other people have already done that. And I saw a mom post on Facebook that she had a little one that had been diagnosed with a rare disease, and she felt completely lost. She was like, my friends and family want to be there, but they don't get it. Like, they don't know the right things to say. They don't know what to do. And I just wish there was a place where I had a community of other families who got it. And then that was like my light bulb. I'm like, yes, I don't want anyone to feel like they don't have a place. And so then that's kind of where the family program originated. But my like light bulb moment was I was like, I grew up feeling like I didn't have a place. And I think that's why it just spoke to me so much to want to create a place where these families felt like they had people who got it. So
Talk to me about how you didn't feel like you had a safe place. What did that actually look like for you?
yeah, so I have lived, well, not now, I'm 41 now. I did live with my grandparents from the time I was just under 3.
Okay.
My mom battled with addictions, and I actually don't know my birth father at all.
Okay.
And so in the 2.5 years I was with my mom, there was just a lot of unsafe situations and things that came up over the course of that time, but it kind of came to a head. She'd had a party, and I somehow got into a bottle of sleeping pills and ingested a lot. And thankfully, one of my mom's friends that was at the party noticed that when I was being put to bed, I was a little off. And he came to check on me after a few minutes just to make sure I was okay, and I was barely breathing. So someone, I actually still don't know who, drove me to the hospital, but I stopped breathing on the way there. Like I was clinically dead for 2 minutes-ish. They pulled over to a fire station, and I got resuscitated at the fire hall and then carried on to the hospital via ambulance and had my stomach pumped, and thankfully I am here today.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you ever been able to talk to your mom about that experience?
No, I actually haven't seen or spoken to my birth mom since I was 10.
Okay.
She was given like a trial period to kind of get cleaned up and get things together. And it just didn't work out for her to be able to get me back.
Yeah.
So they granted legal guardianship to my grandparents. So she did have visitation for a few years, I guess. Well, yeah, like 3 to 10, so 7 years. Initially, I was allowed to go to her house, but I was coming home and just like hiding in the front closet and shaking and crying and just having anxiety attacks. So they ordered that the visits had to be supervised and at my grandparents' house. And just over time, they just started like spacing out more and more and more to the point where she just wasn't coming around anymore. And so I had kind of said, like, it's just too hard to, and I look, it's so funny. I have a 9-year-old who's almost 10. And I feel like I was so old in that moment to be able to say, I can't keep looking out the window every Saturday to see if you're getting off the bus to come visit me. It's too hard. I can't imagine her in her innocence, like having to say and make such a big decision. But yeah.
I would venture to say that you grew up pretty quickly.
Yeah, very, very fast. Very, very independent. Like, I always joke on my social media about how I never ask for help, but it's just, it doesn't come naturally to me. Like, it's just...
I can understand that.
It doesn't even cross my mind to be like, hey, I need help with this. Like, it's just like a natural head down and go kind of thing.
Well, and I'm like, what did that look like? How did that impact you? And you're kind of touching on it, growing up with your grandparents, right? Like, what was your relationship with them like? And how has that impacted you, basically, and I don't know how you would frame this in your own words, but not having a relationship with your biological parents? Because I'm sure that there's people listening that are either, you know, estranged from one, both family members, or have lost them. And I think just being open with that conversation of what that looks like for you would be helpful.
I'm not totally sure if in the moment, like, I really realized the effects on me and my mental health and my emotions until I was in my 20s and actually started going to counseling. And then looking back, I'm like, oh, okay. I had all these, like I say, mouse-catools. So anyone who doesn't have kids who watch Mickey Mouse, they're going to be like, what is that?
We love a mouse-catool.
Yeah, so I'm like, toodles, dissociation. I just got really good at kind of like separating myself from situations. Like, I was physically there, but mentally I just was like out of the room somewhere else that made me happy. So that was a big thing that I did when I was a kid. But I actually would get bullied because I didn't have traditional parents. I had grandparents who, of course, different generation, very strict. They had their own mental health challenges with anxiety and PTSD and things like that. So very strict upbringing and just very different than my friends. So then, yeah, I would get picked on. And I just didn't know. I was like, who do I talk to? Like, I don't know where I quite fit. So I kind of changed friends groups lots growing up. And so that's like coming fast forward very quickly, but like the group of friends that I have found in like the last 2 years through small business and social media, it's changed my life. I'm like, if I could have had this, but then I also think of the work and the healing I did to be this person. I wasn't that person back then.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious on, you said you started doing therapy in your 20s.
Yeah.
Like, was there a catalyst for that? Was there something that you were like, okay, like this isn't working? Or what did that look like for you?
I was like, I am worried all the time. Like this can't be normal. Like I grew up thinking it was normal to just be like scared of everything or not feeling safe if someone didn't like me. Because when I was a kid, if I was in trouble, like it wasn't safe when I was in that environment with my birth mother. It wasn't a safe space to not have someone like you. So I carried that in a very different way. I just wanted everyone to like me because then it was safe. It was okay. I was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have to like worry about what was coming next. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
No, like what? You're totally great.
Therapy.
Like the therapy, and like why you went.
And also like,
yeah,
because
good job.
when we were in our 20s, Jen and I are basically the same age. People weren't going to therapy like they are now.
No,
which
and
I love.
My grandparents, it always made them nervous.
Yeah.
I think, and a lot of it too, I think came because when you're in a custody battle situation, you have to go to court-ordered therapy, and it's very different than traditional counseling. So I think they were afraid that like the court-ordered therapy, like that might brainwash the child to like want to go back to a different situation. I think they just felt very scared and threatened by it.
Yeah.
So I just never went.
Okay, friends, I'm extremely lucky and I happen to live with a chef. I know. My partner Andrew is a chef by trade and he handles all the cooking for our family. I hit the jackpot. I know. If you don't happen to have a chef at home like me, I will let you in on a secret. You still kind of can. How do stress-free, no prep meals sound? Pretty ideal, right? Let me tell you about Busy Bee Meals. Busy Bee Meals is a woman-owned business with a desire to give families more time to enjoy each other. They take fresh ingredients and turn them into a beautiful slow cooker ready meal that you can enjoy with your family, or maybe you need an easy option for just you or two people. This is it. Now, these are not your typical slow cooker meals, friends. They offer a monthly rotating menu with options like Thai mango chicken curry, dill pickle pot roast, honey garlic chicken noodles. Like, how good does that sound? I personally ordered the sweet chili sesame chicken for when it's my rare night to cook because Andrew isn't home, right? You know? I know you want to try it too, so you can use the code HERBUSYBEE for $10 off your first order. Now, they know everyone has different needs and they accommodate dietary restrictions like gluten and lactose free, and again, a variety of serving sizes for you to choose from. Meals are vacuum sealed and frozen, delivered right to your front door. All you have to do is choose one, toss it in your slow cooker, cook an easy side dish, and you're set. Online ordering is super easy. Select your serving size, your restrictions, and your quantities. You can purchase meals for a month, sign up for a subscription, and purchase gift cards, which would be such a great gift for new parents. You can find Busy Bee both on Instagram and online at busybeemeals.ca and use the code HERBUSYBEE for $10 off your first order.
And then I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, I am so tired of worrying. And I didn't even know really what anxiety was.
No.
And then she diagnosed me within one session with generalized anxiety disorder. And she gave me all these books and this homework. And I because of who I am as a person, did it immediately. I was done. I was like, I'm going to get the best therapy grade anyone has ever gotten.
I love it. You're like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it right.
Yeah. I was like, I'm for sure going to get a gold star for this. And so I went in and I'm all proud of myself. And she's like, you didn't have to do this in a week. I'm like, but I did. Like,
yeah,
I did.
She's like, we actually want to talk about that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
She's like,
to get it done.
Yeah.
Here's a new layer.
It's like, okay, so need for approval. Okay. Well, she's just in her book. And I'm like, okay, she's like writing a good report card, right? And she just isn't like continuing to write. I'm like, oh, crap.
Like, ooh. I'm curious, what's your Enneagram number? Have you done the Enneagram?
I'm a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very hard 3.
Yeah.
What's your wing? Do you know your wing?
2.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah,
you.
that makes sense.
I'm a 2 wing
Or
3.
3, 4, 2,
I'm
3.
a 2 wing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, no, so counseling it changed my life. Like, I didn't actually end up vibing very well with that first counselor, and I don't know if it's because she didn't give me a gold star for achievement, but it took a few before I found one that I really kind of settled in with.
Yeah.
And I did my best counseling after my divorce.
Okay.
Ooh, why do you think that was?
Well, I went in after my divorce and I was like, okay, let's talk. Like, I just got a divorce. Like, we're going to just like sit and like talk bad about my ex-husband, right? Like, that's why we're here. This is going to be great. And she's like, okay, so what's your earliest childhood memory? And I was like, pardon?
Excuse me?
Back it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I joke. I get along great with my ex-husband. But no, she was like, day one, what's your earliest childhood memory? And she went all the way back. Whereas the first counselor I felt was very much like in that present moment.
Yeah.
Talking about my behaviors, but like I needed to go all the way back and talk about stuff. And there was stuff that, and then seeing her, I actually started remembering things that I hadn't remembered because I was healing enough that my body could process those memories. So that was a journey all in itself.
Which that's like a really interesting topic, all of it, because I'm like, number one, like healing trauma.
Yep.
Right? Like there's a lot of memories I've heard from people and experienced myself that you don't have come back until you're physically in a safe space.
Yep.
And then when you are, all of a sudden they come creeping out and you're like, why am I having this now? And it's like, no, your body is saying it's safe for this to come out of its hiding place.
I didn't even know if it was real. Like there were things I always wondered about my childhood. And then my daughter, my middle child, was the same age I was when I got taken from my birth mom. And that's when things started to come up. It was like I was seeing her and we looked so much alike. It was almost like I all of a sudden was like caring for my inner child, but like my physical child. It was so, it was wild.
Are you still in counseling or therapy?
I just started again, actually, this last week. I'll go every now and then when things kind of creep up, but I'm at a point, and I started medication 2 years ago as well, which was a game changer. I'm like, oh, what would this have done for me if I started this in my 20s? But I know you can't always like, what if? But yeah, so that was a huge help.
What did it feel like when you got diagnosed with anxiety? Like, how did that like click things into place for you of understanding, you know? Because like obviously Megan and I have shared our sort of anxiety diagnosis on here, and I'm always curious to hear from others, you know, what that felt like for you and how you process through that and move forward in it and to where you are today.
It was such a relief because like hearing and reading all these books she gave me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am normal. Like this is okay. Like, it was like this weight was just lifted off my back. It was great.
That's amazing. I love how you said it took me a while to find the right counselor.
Yeah.
Because I think that, I mean, that's the conversation I've had, you know, right when we were recording our anxiety episode, I hopped in my DMs and said, does anybody have any questions? And holy, the amazing conversations I had in there. But I had somebody approach me say, my sister-in-law is suffering greatly from anxiety, but she will not accept anybody's help or anything like that. And we've convinced her to, you know, we got her to go to a therapist once and she didn't like it. And I said, if you can encourage her from someone else who's done that, it's like dating. You may have to find, you know, and you get to be in control. If you feel good with that person and you're getting something out of it, it's not like you have to go and sit there because this person's a therapist and they're going to tell me what I'm supposed to do and what I'm not. Like, you're very much in the process too.
Yeah. She called me on my BS immediately because she was like, I can see that you might be telling me what I want to hear. And I'm like, psh, oh, people, please.
What?
You don't know me. And then she dropped an F-bomb and I was like, I am home.
Aww.
I was like, okay. Yeah.
My people have come out.
And so you go to counseling. You are now have found a medication that works well for you. What are the other pieces that you do? Because I know you touched on that you do holistic healing as well.
Yeah, so I go for regular Reiki sessions. So that's big for me. I've really started trying to do a meditation every single night before I go to bed. And then I've started a gratitude journal as well.
I love my gratitude journal.
What meditation are you doing? Are you using an app? Are you on YouTube?
I go on YouTube, and it just depends what I'm feeling that day. If I'm feeling like I've been around a lot of negativity, I'll Google guided release negativity energy. So it just kind of depends what I'm feeling.
Great.
But I have to have a guided meditation. I cannot just lay there with music because then I'm just like grocery list, event planning.
Oh, for sure.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I love a good guided meditation. I'm the same way otherwise. And even with a guided meditation, sometimes I'm like, all of a sudden I'm thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's right in the meditation when they're like, if you find yourself drifting off, acknowledge and release. And I'm like, okay,
guide yourself back.
I also have to like watch sugar is a huge thing for me. If
Okay.
I have a week where I'm just like nonstop, like cookies and chocolate and all of the good stuff, I find that I'm like, my anxiety is way, way worse.
Yes.
And then I have to move my body every day, whether it's like a walk or the gym or like a 20-minute Pilates video. I have to do something. And part of that is because I can't sit still ever. But I do find like if I'm sick or if I'm super busy and I'm not active, my anxiety is very high.
Which is very normal because I think, I think it was at the conference we were all at, actually, in one of the workshops. We went to a conference recently. Jen and Erica and myself were all there. Megan wasn't there.
I wasn't.
She'll be at the next one. But there was a workshop and they were talking about the importance of, letting emotions flow through your body and like the blockages, right, that you get by just like the stiffness of like holding those things in. And when you start to move, you can release some of those things. And I think as anxiety and mental health, that's such an important piece to incorporate movement to allow some of that mental stagnation, to like shift and work its way through your body.
I'm curious if you can speak to why you think it's important to heal trauma as a mother.
Whew.
And I know it's heavy. I know it's like,
Yeah.
TJ, I'm gonna whack you with that one. I'm curious if you have any insight into that as someone who experienced trauma from a mother and also is a mother.
Yep.
What that looks like.
Well, it's interesting because like my anxiety, when I'm triggered, I need to be alone. And my middle child has separation anxiety. So when she has anxiety, she needs contact.
Right.
So I'm very aware that I have to like be in touch with myself and my triggers and my healing to be what she needs. But like that's a specific scenario, but I just wanted to break that cycle because like my grandmother had horrible anxiety. My mom had her battles with addiction that I'm sure she had mental health challenges in there as well. And I just wanted to do better for my kids. And when I see them thriving, like it's that inner child work for me too. Yes. So it's like they're healing me by thriving as well, selfishly. But yeah, it's very difficult. I always try and repeat like be who you needed when you were younger, and it doesn't always work. So we all have those days where I'm like, okay, I could have been a better mom today. But that's kind of when I get to that point where I'm just like I can feel the anxiety in my chest. That's always my trigger. My counselor's like, that's your cue. That's when you need to separate and just say, I need a minute to be a better mom. I need you to let me do this. I need to take a breath or whatever it is I need. I set very clear boundaries with my kids too around my anxiety, and we're very open in our house about mental health.
My whole stomach is just like resonating with you right now. Like I can feel I'm doing a lot of inner child work right now too, and it is
heavy,
very heavy. And what I just popped into my head while you were speaking was, I'm doing it for me, yes, but I'm doing it for him. Right? So we're doing it for our kids to break that generational trauma, which is like, sometimes I'm like, why do I got to be the one to do it? But also, what a gift to ourselves and our kids.
Well, how important is it?
It's huge. And I actually remember I didn't even have kids, and I went into counseling and I was like, I'm going to be such a better mom than my mom and my grandma, and I'm going to be the best ever. She was like, but why do you have to compete with anyone? Why can't you just be a good mom in the way that you're a good mom? And I'm like,
Jen.
because I need to win.
Yeah. Because I am not healed yet.
I want
I want to win.
the gold star.
Yes.
But can you touch on how maybe momming in this day and age with social media and wanting to be the best and comparing yourselves, like I feel like that's an important conversation.
It's tough. I feel like when you're watching other accounts, it's hard to not remember some days that Instagram is a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I am actually noticing a shift now, though, where people are sharing more of their real, which I really appreciate.
Isn't that so good?
Yeah. And like the one that always makes me laugh is like when they're like, oh, like the pristine house, it doesn't always look like that, but mine does. Like before, but it's for my mental health.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is great.
Like I have to have it like a certain way, and I'm sure some of that comes from growing up with like grandparents who they were a military family, right? Like you had to make your bed and it was a certain way. So I'm sure there's some of that. I just got used to doing it, but for me, I do find that my anxiety And I am actually talking to my doctor right now about a possible ADHD diagnosis. And so she said this would make a lot of sense. If things are chaotic around you, you can't focus and your anxiety is worse. And so, yeah, so the tidy thing, that is,
and I think sharing why like humanizes us, right?
Yeah.
So someone's not just looking at it being like, oh, she has such a clean home.
Yes.
Look at her. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. You're like, oh, there's a reason behind it. And that pulls on not just like strings, but like emotion
Yeah.
for us to get inside of someone's head and be like, I see why you do that.
there are days where I would love to just like leave the kitchen.
Yeah.
But I actually I can't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to work that day.
Yeah. So at the end of the day,
I probably have to take to counseling and discuss that.
You know, this is a counseling session right now.
didn't you know?
Do you feel like there are certain triggers for you with anxiety, like in relation to social media at all?
I did in the beginning.
Okay.
I was very like, if my follower count lowered by even 2, I'd be like, I would look through and analyze all of my posts, be like, what did I possibly say to offend someone or hurt someone's feelings? Do I need to apologize? I've gotten better with that now. I try not to really like pay attention to that number at all. But yeah, that was my biggest challenge, is like worrying that I had hurt someone's feelings.
But how did you overcome that? Because I'm like, that's a very real thing for some people, feeling like looking at that number, you know? And I know, I think I can say this, but Erica and I ran an analytics course, and like Jen follows us on Carousel, and she's like, I'm not entering into that space. She's like, that's a no-go for me, you know, for mental health reasons. But I'm like, if someone is listening and they're like, I feel the same way as you, you know, what are some things, like, how did you walk yourself through that?
I think like it just
without
depends.
full disassociation.
Yeah. Oh,
I dissociated and bought some stars, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, I'm good to go now. I mean, like the one really, I know it's not about the followers, but my follower count did increase to a point where it's like I probably couldn't pinpoint like who it was. So that really helped. And then I think that's too why I kind of shied away from the analytics, because I was so worried that it's like, oh my gosh, someone closed that story. Like, was I offensive? So I've just had to kind of monitor like the certain things that I monitor and like my behaviors, if that makes sense.
Well, you've put boundaries in place, it sounds like.
That's the word. I don't have a lot of those. That's something I work on.
You do with your children and your anxiety.
Yes.
So, which is a huge one.
Yeah.
Right? So you're doing good boundary work over there.
Yeah, with the kiddos. I do great.
So I feel like we understand, you know, some of the pieces in your life that have led to who Jen is, you know, and you alluded to and sort of spoke on how you started the Little Wonders program. But tell us a little bit more about the program specifically, what it does for people, and your level of involvement in it. And I also want to hear, which we'll get to, you transitioning into a full-time role now with your organizations and company, right?
Yeah. So the family program, like I mentioned earlier, it's a place to connect families who have medically complex kiddos. So rare diseases, disabilities, major medical surgeries. You can come to our website and search by diagnosis in our blog page. And so if you have a kiddo who's recently diagnosed and you're like, I have no idea where to turn, you can come and see if there's a family who has the same diagnosis and read their story, find their contact info, and reach out to them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is this in Saskatchewan or?
Saskatchewan right now.
Right
I
now.
would love to expand.
Oh, I can see that happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would love to expand. So yeah, Saskatchewan for now. Primarily, actually, a lot of our families are in Saskatoon area. I would love to start traveling to southern Saskatchewan and visiting schools and trying to get more families, especially a lot of the farming communities. I've got a lot of referrals to families that are out on farms, because then it's even extra isolating. Like, you know, like you're just kind of on your own out there. So
How do you not? I'm curious on, because we always say like, oh my gosh, like you're with these families and you're like connecting with them and you're walking through. And you can speak to this, like you're seeing their journey. How do you like cope with that as a mom and as someone who's involved with them? Like, because I feel like there'd be some hard stuff to be a part of with them.
honestly, I look at their moms. Their moms teach me every single day. Like one of the moms said, she was like, I don't like being called strong, because if I could not have this strength, I would choose to not have it. But it's a strength that I didn't have a choice but to have. So I wake up every day and I have this strength. And it was just like one of the most powerful things I've ever heard.
Okay, friends, if you are anything like me, you have a never-ending to-do list, and managing social media is always a daunting task. Let's be honest, as a business owner, social media can be a full-time job. It's time-consuming, ever-changing, and can also be overwhelming. But what if it could be easier? Not only are they my podcast co-hosts, Erica and CJ are the brilliant women behind Carousel Media Management, and when I tell you they have helped me so much with my social media, I mean it. You need to book in for a strategy session with Carousel because Erica and CJ are going to give you the building blocks to a thriving social presence and help you define your niche, your target audience, your branding, content pillars, and help you build a content strategy and plan. Did you know you need that? Because you do. You guys, these building blocks are so important for your business, and Eric and CJ will help you get crystal clear on all of them so you can manage your social media with confidence and stop feeling overwhelmed by it. I know that every time I sit down with them, I leave feeling motivated, clear, and aligned on my path and my goals, and I just feel so much better and more confident with my social media. Visit them on Instagram at Carousel Media Management. That's CAROUSELMEDIA MGMT, where they are sharing valuable tips for navigating the ever-changing algorithm. And you're going to want to book a discovery call now because I'm promising you, you are going to get so much value from this discovery call. So go visit them on Instagram at Carousel Media Management, and we're linking it in the show notes for you to make it easy peasy.
And then so I look to them a lot, and I've become really good friends with so many of the moms. And it's like these kiddos are more than like a blog post on my page. Like they feel like family. Like I love these families so much. But yeah, it's there's some difficult days, and these families go through so much, and it's just being there in the best way we can. We have a private Facebook group, so sometimes the moms will talk in there, share stuff in there. A couple weeks ago, one mom was like, "Hey, I'm in the hospital this week. Is anyone else here?" And I just started bawling. I was like, "This is it. Like, this is exactly what I wanted for these moms, is to be able to know, like, okay, I've got a really hard week. My kiddo has surgery, but if there's any other moms here, like, let's go to Starbucks. Let's." Yeah. They're so incredible.
I'm curious what one of the biggest pieces you've learned from being a part of the little, like, well, obviously founding and being a part of the Little Wonders families' lives, you know, like something that's the biggest impact it's had on you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the relationships are huge. Like, these are families that I want to be a part of my life for as long as I'm here. So that's been huge, having those connections. And like I said, they've taught me that, like, the smallest things are like the biggest things every single day. Like, they're constantly teaching me, and I know that that's not why the family program was put together, but it is something that I get every single day from them.
I know you've been on this journey, and I'm going to get this wrong, but like the Little Wonders program, is it a nonprofit organization?
Yes. Yeah.
Now?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm like, we probably have people listening who are curious, like how that process went for you, which I know was like a little bit, you know what I mean? But I'm like, it actually is a lot of work and doesn't just happen very easily. So I'm curious if you can just tell us a little bit about that.
Do you want the full?
Yeah, if you're willing to.
He wants to.
Yeah. So initially it was, I wasn't even sure if it was going to be a nonprofit. I didn't know if people would sign up. I wasn't sure like where it was going to turn. And then it just, all these families started reaching out, and I was like, okay, I want this to be a thing, an official thing. So I want to be a charity. So registered as a nonprofit, because you have to be a nonprofit to get charity status.
I'm going to be silly here.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the difference between the two, a nonprofit and charity?
That's my question too.
There's a lot I still don't fully understand.
Okay.
So the charities are a lot more regulated. There's a lot more reporting and auditing, I believe.
Okay.
And the charities can issue tax receipts, whereas nonprofits aren't able to do tax receipts.
Yes.
So there is a lot more legal stuff to it. And that was my next step. Was I hired someone to do the charity status for us. And unfortunately, after a year, we had been told that we were approved, which doesn't sound like an unfortunately, but it is, because I called CRA to ask them a question about our charitable tax number, because I wanted to start writing tax receipts immediately. Like, I was so excited that we got approved. And they're like, we just got your application 2 days ago. And I was like, what? So unfortunately, the person that we hired to do that for us, the application never went in, and the information that we were approved was false.
Can I ask this? And again, you can pass on this.
Yeah.
Like, was this like a scam? Is this someone that like...
I think it was just something that fell through the cracks.
Okay.
And there was just no ownership of
So they were like, they're going to get approved. So I'm just going to tell them they're approved and send it out. Yeah,
but it takes 6 to 12 months to be approved. Yeah. So this was almost like right at the 12-month mark. So I thought for sure, I'm like, this is amazing. So we lost a year.
Okay.
And then found out that in that process, we had also lost nonprofit status because there was paperwork that wasn't filed because no one had reached out to me to advise that it was needed. So I reached out to ISC, told them what happened. They told me what forms I had to fill out. I was reinstated within a day.
Amazing.
And so we've got our nonprofit. I am now the sole contact. And I think that we probably will stay nonprofit for now with what we're doing. It's okay.
Okay.
And then down the road, if we decide that the charitable receipts is a really big part of it. But
well, it could eventually be a draw for people, right?
Yeah. And I think more
so corporate, right?
Yeah. Well, corporate or, if I understand this right, corporate are able to donate under different tax categories, whereas individuals, it has to be a charitable. Yeah. So right now we're really good to get corporate donations, but individual is not a write-off for people. So
that wouldn't be like even a thought for me. I'd be like, I don't care to claim that. Here's the money.
Yeah.
You know?
And Eric and I have a different story on that. I'm like, no, but like in a good way. For me, like I'm very conscious that I have charitable donation and that allows me to actually give back even more. Got it. And so I absolutely have a budget for me and my husband that is a charitable portion that I seek out specific charities where I do get a charitable portion back. And then I also have an allocated portion where I'm like, I am not expecting anything back. And this is being given to someone, you know, like a nonprofit organization or an individual or something that I believe in. And that is not the charitable
family program too. Like I'll make donations to organizations that help our families as well. So when I do like trade shows, a portion of admissions will go to the family program, but a portion will also go to Ronald McDonald House. And when our families do fundraisers and sell shirts for their own or like own fundraisers, then we'll donate to that as well.
Right.
Why did you want to do the Heart's Desire Gala?
Like, yeah, what was the, like, I should do a gala? Because that's, okay, let's backtrack for a second. You are also an event planner.
Yes.
So it does actually make sense. But that's a big scale event. Were you like, I can do this? And then you were halfway in and been like, oh my gosh, this is so much work.
I had just started my anxiety medication right around the time.
She's like, I'm cured.
Are you invincible?
I am invincible. I am not I am Eminem. I am not afraid. Not afraid, but I was terrified. Initially, it was fine. Like, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to book these keynotes. It's going to be great. And then, because that summer, when I booked everything, there was like a glimmer of hope that the world was opening up again.
Yes.
Because it was the summer of 2021.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, it was not anymore. And I had to postpone. And it took almost 2 years from the time I decided to do the gala to the time it actually happened. So it lost so much momentum. And there were so many times where I was like, I will never do this again.
Yeah.
Like, this was so hard. I had to, like, claw to even get 4 sponsors for that first one and to sell, like, 150 tickets. And then the night happened, and I was like, this was magic, and I don't care if we only sell 50 tickets. If we can relive this again, and just seeing the moms out and having like the night of their life, having so much fun, like
the joy on their faces.
Oh my gosh,
so
it was the best.
I'm curious on if you were like, did the idea for it stem from like seeing these moms and being like, they really need something, and I want them to experience something awesome, or was it, I'm going to do like a cool event to fundraise for the Little Wonders family program, and also now it's a benefit to these moms to come out?
It was a bit of a mixture. Like I was thinking of doing smaller little fundraisers throughout the year, but in talking to the moms, and like they're like, oh, we want to start doing like networking events and getting to know these other moms better. And I'm like, okay, how can I do this but do it big and like give them just like this amazing night out? And last year, I think we had 12 moms that were able to make it. And this year we'll have 34.
Whoa!
Yeah. And Belong Lifestyle is gifting them a free gown rental. And so Dina is going and getting all of their measurements and their styles, and she's going to buy all of these gowns to up her rental inventory, and she's giving them. Yeah. It's incredible.
Oh, that's fun.
But see, isn't this beautiful? This is the community coming together behind a cause, right? And raising up, and again, we're recording this, on a great day. Today is International Women's Day. When we're recording this, it won't be released now, obviously, right? But I'm like, this is just so beautiful to see all of these people coming together behind one cause.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised by it, right? And I mean, I've said this too now a couple times already, so it's like not a surprise. But I'm like, I really think it doesn't really matter who you bring in. I think the program that you've designed the gala kind of like to support, or the women to support, I think that's what people are really excited about. And it's great to have amazing speakers like the Birds Papaya, and Christine and everyone else that's lined up for the event. But I'm like, I think it really, the heartstrings are really it's what's bringing out this community, right? Is people just really wanting to rally behind you and behind the families themselves, which is so incredible.
Yeah. And like some of the moms have said to me, there's just nothing like this. And just, like I said, getting these connections with the moms and just seeing them talk to each other and network, and just the conversations. They'll have kids who have completely different diagnosis, but you'd think they have the exact same one because of how much they relate to each other, and hospital stays and NICU. And it's so beautiful to listen to them talk to each other and connect.
I want to speak quickly to Erica touched on the community piece quickly, but one thing that, we know about you, and what comes to mind pretty quickly when we think about you, is the amazing community that you have created. You really have. Like, Erica said, it's great that the Birds Papaya here and stuff, but I remember her saying that's an amazing speaker, and I think Jen would sell out because it's Jen.
She said that to me at the Evoke conference, and I was like, okay, first of all, I'm sweating. I don't. She knows I don't do well with compliments.
Receive the compliment.
I know.
We open to receive and give.
I'm starting to, but I'm just saying thank you.
Yeah, I was there years ago. It's a process, but I just want to would love for you to speak to the way you built this community.
I don't even know.
Okay, that's an answer.
I will be totally honest.
Yeah.
I do remember my strategy session with these two lovely ladies when I was first like, I don't know what to do with this, and like, does it need to be 2 accounts? And I was kind of lost, and they were like hyping me up even then. They're like, no, like, this is going to be incredible. Start engaging, talk to people. And that's what a lot of it was. I just started, I was always so shy to like reply to people's posts and stories. I'm like, they're going to think I'm a weirdo. I don't even know them. And now I'm friends with all the weirdos.
Weirdos unite.
Weirdos unite.
But I think that does speak to just what you wanted. You went and did. Mm-hmm. So you wanted community around your own program,
right?
So instead of sitting there and just being like, well, they'll come, you were like, I need to go and put in the effort, which is what we preach to people. In strategy sessions, but also in life, right? Like, if you want it, then you might need to create it.
Yeah.
Right. And to just sit and wait for it to happen might not. So I think that's incredible that you took some advice.
Well, and it was just wonderful too, because like doing events, there's so many other female-owned businesses that you can pull in for one single event. It's like, I want you to make me a shirt. I want you to make a tumbler, and you're going to make a banner, and you're going to make a cake. And the next thing you know, it's like you've assembled this like dream team of women. And then people just start mentioning each other. I post this so often, but like, women who mention your name in a room full of opportunities. Yes. That's really such a big part of how things grew. Is it's like, I'll get a message just like, oh, I was talking to so-and-so and they recommended you for this. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to recommend this person. And it just grew to this amazing community. And then at like networking events, like that's one of my favorite things to organize, because it's like, it's an event, but really it's just women getting together and building each other up. And that's really where most of my connections came from, was Instagram besties. And I think too, like, the power of other women who are content creators, business owners, is you start to really understand each other. Because I think sometimes too, your friends who aren't in the social media world or don't have businesses, you don't connect with them in the same way. They don't quite understand a lot of your process or what you have to do, the importance of even liking a post.
Yeah.
And then so the community just shifts a little bit.
We've talked about this a lot on the podcast.
We literally did a full episode on it.
We did a full
That's
episode
coming out
about-
a solo on it, talking about being, friends and being an entrepreneur in business, and just how some people can't understand, right? The smallest thing that they could do makes such a powerful impact in our lives. And I know this is something we've probably said to you before as well, but it's like finding those people who do those things and leaning into that, rather than being like, this person is not doing that and I'm going to let that aggravate me, right? And be that 5 minutes of my day that ruins my whole day. I'm like, no, if you're not going to show up for me in that way, I'm going to lean into the people and relationships who are showing up, because and I feel like that's kind of, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe what you've done.
Yeah, it took me about a year to really kind of like let that hurt go, because I was like, they don't probably even realize that doing or not doing something relating to my small business can be hurtful, or like what that means. And I just have to accept that it's just different. It's just different.
Yeah.
That feels like a really beautiful place to wrap up, actually, because I'm looking at the time here. Jen, this was so great. Of course it was great. We knew it would be great. We knew it would be, we knew it'd be awesome having you on. We like to end our little conversations here with asking our guests what the best piece of advice is that they've ever been given, or at least that they really like lately, because maybe that's hard.
Don't wait. I learned a very big lesson this year with that, and I did one of those 23andMe kits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I figured out who my birth father was.
Oh my gosh, I was going to ask you.
I did, but he passed away.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
6
sorry
years
to hear
ago.
that, Jen.
Yeah, so it was just like,
That would be hard.
I played with this idea for so many years, and I'm telling myself that it's okay. Like, maybe I wasn't meant to actually like meet him, but there was just such a peace in knowing now, at least a name.
Yeah.
So I could like Facebook create pictures and stuff just to like know a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, once that happened, I was like, I don't want to sit on stuff anymore. I don't want to go back and forth. Like, if I'm thinking I want to do something, I'm just going to go for it.
I think sometimes we need those experiences to really shift into, I'm not going to wait now.
Yep.
Because if you hadn't had that experience, maybe you would still be waiting. I think that's wonderful.
No, we ruminate for way too long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, tell people where they can find you. All of your mini handles. Drop a website if you want. All of your names and businesses, where you want people to connect with you the most, if they want to connect with like you and each of your programs, because we really want to hook you up for people to be able to go and find you and connect.
I'm most active on my Instagram, the Little Wonders event management one. So it's at littlewonders.sask.
SASK.
Yeah. And there's links to the venue and the family program through that page as well.
Great.
One-stop shop. Amazing.
Amazing. Well, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Her Podcast. If you want to follow along with us, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at its.her.podcast. We can't wait to see you there.
Bye.
Adios.